We are live 6 minutes early. One like, no persons in the queue. Love that. That's so weird. What's up, Marcy? How are you? Tyler420, what's up, buddy? How are you? It was so weird. There was Glenn, how are you, my friend? It said 0, 1 like. I was like, what the hell? Harry, how are you doing tonight? Happy Valentine's Day to all y'all. There's Janie. How are you, dear? I got some Dogman stories for you, Jimmy. How you feeling this week, buddy? I hope you're feeling well. What's up, Troy? Robert Jarrett, how are you, bud? Wesley September. John. Robert Sharp, how are you? Jimmy, how you feeling tonight? You all right? You healing up? Wendy, how are you? Ryan, how are you? Sonny, I'm glad that you're back, Jane. We missed you last week. Robin, how are you? Kathy Hayes. Oh, thanks, Marcy. Hey, Annette, how are you? Cosman, how are you? Susan, Don Combs, welcome back. Yeah, that was, I don't know. I'll talk to you about that in a minute, about the comment that was Dad of the Year, because it was a fucking, I don't even know. It was like driving up. So it's weird because the road that goes up the mountain, there's a road that goes up the mountain and it's closed during the winter. There's 4 lookout points on the mountain, and it's mainly a tourist part, the highway. It's called a highway, but it's a road, and I don't know why they call it a highway. It's a stupid name. It's been a highway for 50 years. And Maggie Mayhem, how are you? Luke Thompson, how are you, buddy? Gavin, what's up? Brian Mons. And so my daughter calls me. It's 3:48, and it's a gray day. We've had some really nice sunny days for the last couple of days, and but this was the last grayish, shitty day we've had. It was cold, and it wasn't that cold. It was like 30, so it wasn't that cold, but it was getting cold. And they had just, I thought they were gonna go hike by the river, you know. It's a beautiful little hiking spot. It's safe and it's close to home. But once they realized they couldn't get up the mountain pass, they drove to the catwalk. And it's just this, our highway up here, the Adirondack Highway, is 3 lanes, a kind of middle section of grass and trees. And it depends on how wide it is in certain places. Like in certain places, it could be 10 feet. In other places, it could be like 30, 40 feet. And then another 3 lanes going south. So the catwalk, you've got to cross all of those. And you're about 30 to 40 feet in the air on this like weird metal grating with chain link so no one jumps. And I go across it and I get down to where the trailhead is. And of course, the traffic is behind me. And that's something many people don't realize. Like the Adirondack Highway, it goes right through the mountains. So you could have traffic, but you're in a desolate piece of land, you know. It's really strange. So I'm walking in and all I can hear is the noise in the background. And I get to a certain kind of point where I can hardly hear the noise. I don't hear any wildlife, and I yell Belle's name, Caleb's name. I even yelled for the dog. I was like, Zeus. And at this point, I walk back over and I'm trying to figure out what the best action to take is. I wasn't prepared. She's like, pick me up. And I'm like, okay. Her ankle's hurt. I'll just drive up, not thinking. And so I'm literally in a pair of like khaki pants with a polo shirt and a freaking flannel on and boots. And so I'm like not equipped for outdoor hiking. Otherwise, if I had known I was going to have to, I would have had my snowshoes in my trunk. I would have had my boots. I would have been good to go. So then I call the Rangers. I call DEC, and I get really a freaking awesome ranger. And I explain the situation. I explain their ages. I'm like, da-da-da. And so during all of this, I'm starting to get like panicky, but I'm starting to have like, I don't want to waste anyone's time, like kind of be thinking like they'll eventually come out, even though her ankle's hurt, she'll put it. But also Belle's the kind of kid that will like sit down and be like, I'm not going anywhere. And that's all I could think of was like, that's what she was doing. So I get back on the phone with the ranger. He gives me a cell phone number. I text him a picture of the last ping I had of her phone because they didn't charge their phones 100%. They were like 70%. So when they went up there, for some reason, their phones died rapidly up there. I don't know if it was the cold, but it wasn't that cold. Both have fairly new phones. Belle's is a last generation iPhone. His is like a couple generations old. So batteries are still good. Should have been fine at 75, 70%. That was the last thing Belle said. My phone's dead. Caleb's phone's at 3%. And then I couldn't get a hold of him. So I'm like, here's the last ping. And I'm like, I'm going to take one more walk across. I'll walk up for about a half an hour or as far as I can go in the boots that I have. And then let's call a ranger. Let's get us some snowmobiles up here and get her. Finally, she comes out of the blue. And I'm walking across the catwalk and I see her. And I'm like, oh my God, there she is. And of course, because law enforcement, he wanted to talk to her, make sure her ankle was okay, that she didn't need any help. And then said, listen, bring a power pack with you. And like I had told the guy, I'm like, what I do? I'm like, I hike. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about cryptids. I have all the power banks the kid wants. I have a ton of them. So at the end of it all, she gave me a big hug. I could tell she was cold and she was really like put off. She's like, can I sit in the car, Daddy? I'm like, yeah, I'll start my car for you. His car had been sitting, so it would take a longer time to heat up. So I started the car and she sits in it. And that happened up there. It all started like when they first hit the trailhead. Zeus was on high alert, looking around. He's a really cool dog. He's really gentle and just used to the outdoors. So for him to have his ears raised and be on high alert like that was kind of off for Caleb. And they kept going. They heard laughter. Now, this is the fucking weirdest thing. Because during the whole storytelling of Belle telling me what happened, she goes, and don't be mad, but we had to whistle for Zeus a couple times. And I'm like, wait, you whistled in the woods? And I'm like, you know better than that, bud. Like, I've filled your head with do not ever whistle in the woods. She knows better. They heard these weird laughter in the woods. There was nobody else up there. I thought maybe, like snowmobilers, but they didn't hear anybody. There wasn't anywhere a snowmobile could be in the section where they heard the laughter. And then Caleb was like, I felt like we were being watched the majority of the time we were up there. So didn't Zeus, because he would be like watching like the tree lines on both sides. And then he said, you know how like in the video that you did when you caught the metallic noise where Tom Messick disappeared, you compared the noise that you captured to the noise of the trees bending in the woods. There's a very distinct difference in those two noises on that video. And in order, like when a tree in the woods from the wind like bends, it doesn't go like, it doesn't, it goes and then goes back. It's like this, he said, almost sounded like it was like something was pushing the tree down to a point where, and so it was really crazy experience for both of them. They're gonna be on, it's Valentine's Day. They're both at the casino having fun as kids. So I'm gonna have them probably Sunday or Monday night share their experience. I'm gonna have them both kind of sit down and share it, so you guys can hear it in their terms and their wording. Really a messed up fucking experience. So Emma Johnson, how are you? There's Shackleneck. Hey buddy, I meant to text you back. I am so sorry. I was gonna text you today. I apologize. It was a crazy experience. He texted me because Sonia, thank you, Sonia, for thinking of me. She sent the experience that I had shared to Shackleneck. So is this like a paranormal portal podcast? I go to where Tom Messick disappeared. I share Dogman experiences, cryptid experiences. I've been to the Conjuring house. So yeah. Who did I miss? Jess, how are you? Aramek, my brother, Aramek. Snowman Dave, how are you, buddy? Julie, how are you? If I miss anybody during this, Shackleneck, thank you so much. I apologize. 421, how are you? Mr. Anderson, how are you? I just wanted to kind of get that out because, and Sonia, once again, thank you for thinking of me and sending Shackleneck the experience. I really appreciate it. Fonda, how are you? Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Detroit in the house. Hi. DL, Claire, how are you doing? So I've got a shit ton of experiences for you guys tonight. I've got some pretty good Lizzo stories for you guys tonight. For those of you who are new, last week it was funny. This lady's like, I didn't come here to listen to lot lizard stories. And I'm like, okay, one, the 4-hour upload or live stream that we did last week was like all paranormal and cryptid experiences, except for like a total of a half an hour of funny experiences. Like, I'm sorry that just fuck you, you know. Nick Carroll, thank you so much. Amanda Crazy Life, how are you? Nick, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Adam Condon, how are you? Nick Hendricks, how are you? Nexus, what's up, my brother? Nicole B, how are you? So, and anyway, I'm going to go up there Monday. I've got my bag packed. I've got my snowshoes set. I'm going to hike up into that area. I want to see what's going on. I want to see what that laughter is. I explained to Caleb like samurai chatter and, you know, the laughter and stuff. But what was really strange is Caleb's a good kid. Caleb's 18, you know, so he's kind of sowing his oats in the world, you know, and he still has that kind of mentality where he's got to prove his toughness as a, you know, a man. Just 18, you know, still like testing the waters. But I feel safe when Belle's with him. Like, he would die for my daughter. He would fucking fight till the end for her. So, for him to do this when I said, because I saw his face when I said Bigfoot, and his face kind of contorted a little bit, and I'm like, what, like feral people? And that's how I said it, like, what, feral people? And he started to tear up, like his eyes got swolled with, like, he didn't tear, but, and he kind of shook his head and stopped talking about it right then and there. So it was really kind of a hard subject for him to talk about. 59th will be in a little bit later. Aramik, he pops in late sometimes, brother. He'll be here. George, how are you? Once again, if I missed anybody, I apologize. Sonia, how are you? I don't know if you heard me say thank you to sending the information to Shackleneck. What's up, Truth Quest? Anubis didn't have a kid, but I don't. God's Marine 2000. I break for cryptids. That's funny. What's up, Brett? How are you? Rocky Michaels. Yeah, it was definitely a creepy experience. So I'm going to go up there. I want to check it out. You know, it can't be any more. One, it's in the Adirondacks. So where this occurred, it occurred like 20 minutes south of where Tom Mezek disappeared. So I've been where Tom Mezek disappeared on the day he disappeared 9-10 years later, multiple times. So I don't anticipate having kind of any kind of off-putting. Like, I'll still hike it. I don't give a shit. But when I did go in, I noticed instantly that there was no wildlife. And that's another thing they noticed, that there was no birds. There was nothing out there. And they both were like, damn. And I'm kind of glad that they caught it, but I'm really pissed off that they didn't freaking, or they whistled in the woods. Like, she knows better. All right, so let's start the night off with a black-eyed children experience. I got a pretty good lineup tonight for you guys, so I hope you guys enjoy this. I totally forgot about this happening until my mom brought it up at dinner tonight, and now it's 9:30 at night, and I'm scared all over again. This was back in high school, either my freshman or sophomore year. I had missed the bus. I didn't have a car at the time, so my mom had to drive me to school. The road, my tiny neighborhood, more like a glorified cul-de-sac, or however it is spelled, was off of this long rural stretch that only had one equally tiny other neighborhood and a few houses here and there. It was 6 a.m. or something and still dark outside, and it was colder than a witch's tit. As we are pulling out of our neighborhood, my mom and I both see these three children in blue and white private school uniforms standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder at the entrance of our neighborhood on the sidewalk. It was either 2 girls, 1 boy, or 2 boys, 1 girl. I don't remember the ratio. But the girls, or girl, wore blue and white skirt/dress outfit. The boy wore a blue short-sleeved shirt and khaki shorts. This was weird for a few reasons. One, it was 40 degrees outside at the time. They looked like they were dressed for summer, and they didn't have any coats or anything. Secondly, there were 2 schools in the area, but not a private school till the next town over, and blue and white weren't that school uniform's colors. Third, what young kid just stands in the middle, or stands there in a single file line, not doing anything, just standing, not jerking around, no nothing. Yeah, right. Lastly, this wasn't where the bus stop is. It's a few blocks down, just a sprinkle of a little creepy on top of that shit and giggles. There wasn't any street lights, so they are just standing in the dark, not doing jack except for being creepy. They were on the corner on the right, closest to the passenger side where I obviously was sitting. And of course, we were turning right. As we got closer, I thought at first they don't have any faces, but it was just too shadowy and dark out, and the headlights only shone under their shoulders, which is how I can remember the outfit so vividly. Then we got closer, and I was relieved to see that they did indeed have faces, but then got completely freaked out all over again when I saw that their eyes were all black, like supernatural Sam and Dean fighting demons, all black. My mom saw it before I did, and she put the pedal to the metal and hightailed it out of there. I remember trying to look back and see them, but I couldn't since it was too dark. My mom did not go back home till the sun had risen, and it was bright enough not to be scared. Of course, nobody believed me at school, and my siblings thought I was full of shit. But we know what I saw. My mom and I never saw them again after that, though. I thought at first they were ghosts, but a few months after that, I had heard about black-eyed children on YouTube or something and made a connection. We moved shortly after that due to unrelated reasons. This was three-quarter years ago, and I had blissfully forgotten about it until my mom had said, "Hey, do you remember?" And now I am petrified. I hope my irrational anxiety and fear around children that are small enough for me to punt across the soccer field is amusing at least. Growing up, I lived 3 houses down from a historic cemetery. Needless to say, growing up, I saw a few things that made me a believer. My dad always poked fun at me until he had an experience of his own. It was a rather validating honesty. But after that, he was more open to things. This event happened years later. My dad goes to Canada every year for fishing. I've been to this place many times with him, just not in the last few years. Well, anyway, one night after he returned from his trip, we were having a glass of whiskey. Is there anything better than a paranormal come to Jesus moment with? He said he wanted to tell me something that he had experienced up there on his last trip. The second night they were there. They were there for 7 days. He was sitting on the porch of the cabin smoking. From there, he could look out at the equipment shed about 60 feet away. It's a small building that has a pair of barn doors. They kept just equipment to keep the camp going. And this is a camp only reachable by boat or aircraft. The doors were ajar a bit, and he could see 2 glowing eyes. They were surrounded by an outline of a very large dog. He obviously thought he was just drunk and went back inside. The next morning, he looked in there to see what he could possibly have seen that would have given eye shine or something similar. There was nothing. No reflectors, no red glass, nothing. The next night, he didn't see it, but then the one after that, he did. He even called one of the other guys out to point it out to them. "Hey, what do you see over there?" The response, "That fucking looks like a big dog with glowing eyes." Hey ended up seeing it multiple times, even saw its head move once, which to me lends to it not being just some piece of equipment with a shadow. I got him to really describe it, and after showing him a few different cryptid canine profiles, the one he picked out was similar to a Tibetan Mastiff looking hellhound. I'll be honest, I do know legends. You will see hellhound and you have a year to live max. My dad has a heart condition. I was more than a little worried, but this has been years now. I can only assume either he wasn't there for my dad or he was guarding something far more important. 5 rings. What's up, brother? Boop, boop, boop. SDL, how are you? Let me make sure I say hi to everybody that I missed. Delirium, Mr. Poor, how are you? Tooth infection, getting a root canal. Bro, stomach is fucked. Dude, you have some of the worst fucking luck, my brother. Oh my God, you are always in my prayers. You know that. What's up, do something? I just said it. It's not that I forget you, it's I didn't see you. So, Damage, how are you? Core Belief. AG. Dave True Fits, how are you, brother? It's because there's more people in the chat that are communicating. That's why it moves fast. Someone told me that half of all accidents happen within a mile of your house. So I moved. Oh, I love Saturday nights as well. Well, if you don't like the lot lizard stories, you don't even have to pop in, you know? It's part of the live stream. It's been part before, I don't even know. Yet, teeth infections suck. They are excellent. Thank you, guys. Thank you. There's Simone, my Aussie lady. All right. Well, yeah, we got about 4 minutes till the lot lizard story. So we'll do one more experience. This happened visiting the United States because my cousin was graduating from college. I don't want to say where exactly, but this happened in the state of Arizona. I promised that I would arrive a night before his graduation to help him put the house in party condition. I arrived on a pretty late flight and I didn't have my own car, so my cousin came to pick me up at the airport. It was about 2 a.m. We're driving on a long road that was basically in the middle of nowhere. I was about to fall asleep, but my cousin woke me up and said that there was a wolf right in front of us next to the road. I had never seen a wolf in the wild before, so it was a little exciting. Just when we were about to drive past it, it stood up and started running on 2 feet. It was running next to the car for about 5 seconds, and when we looked at it again, it almost looked like a human. After telling this experience to others, they told me that there is such a thing called the Dogman. I believe that is what we saw that night. It's okay, Janie. People don't like them. You know, they would rather like go to a live stream where there's bitching and talking about other channels or fake AI stuff. So it's all right. I'm not worried about it. Oh, the police officer. Oh, wow. You have not heard that. So anyway, my young, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So for those of you who don't know, my young just asked the question. This was a couple years ago. And weirdly enough, I had gotten a speeding ticket. I was driving and I was heading somewhere. I was talking about during this period of time of the channel, I was giving a lot of hell towards the Cott County, Tennessee Sheriff's Department, Newport police officers about the Amber Miller and Tony Aaron's case. So there's a Dodge truck and I'm just being me. He goes by me and I kind of keep up with him. Just we look over at each other. He's got Vermont plates on. Laughing at each other. We're going like 80 fucking around. There's not many other cars on the Northway. I'm going south. And I slow down because I see a cop on the U-turn pull off up the hill. He goes blasting right by the cop. I'm like, oh fuck, dude, he didn't see him. So I go up the hill. I slow down to 70 and he pulls me over. So I pull over and I'm like, he's like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I'm like, nope. And because you never tell a police officer why they pulled you over, like, I don't know why. So he's like, you were speeding. And I'm like, huh? So he gives me a ticket. I leave and I had just bought I had a Subaru Wilderness at the time, a Forester. And I had just bought it. So he gives me a ticket. I don't look at the ticket, but I handed him my license. My license has my address on it. There's no attachments to anything. But the ticket, when I get home, has my license number, my dad's name, my dad's address, and everything else. So I was like, this makes no sense. Like, it's not even he has no attachment to my vehicle at all, like nothing. I go to court and I bring it up. So when I'm in court, I bring this up to the judge and he goes, how do you plead? And I'm like, to what? I'm like, this ticket's not even in my name. I go, I don't know what you want me to do. And he had pled it down to where I had pulled over on the side of a highway and parked for a period of time, which I guess is illegal. No points on your license, so it doesn't affect your insurance. But I'm like, I guess I'll plead guilty, but I don't want anything to happen to my dad. Can you tell me why this has anything to do with my dad, not me? Like, my dad's address, my name, my ID number, my dad's name is on it. This is like the only thing that says me is my ID number and my car. And he just like, do you want to not plead guilty? Like, kind of like cut it off right there. It was really weird. It was almost like they were fucking with me. Oh yeah, teeth infection. People don't realize they can die from teeth infections. It's not anything to be like to. Her ankle was swollen for a couple of days. It's gotten better. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Hey Eunice, how are you, dear? If I didn't say hi to anybody, I apologize. Sharon Williams, Smitty, what's up, buddy? Lizzo time. Is it Lizzo time? Did I pay the fine? Absolutely. Oh, that's another weird thing that happened during that time. So the judge says $200 fine or $100 fine, $100 surcharge. I'm like, okay, whatever. I go home. He doesn't want me to pay it there. He's like, pay it online. I go home. I go on my computer to pay it. And the charge is $100. That's it. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, none of this ticket makes sense. The judge says 200. The state says 100. I'm like, do I pay 200? Do I pay 100? What do I do? So I call DMV and I'm like, hey, I just got a ticket. I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out. I didn't say, hey, the judge said 200. I just was like, I played it off. I'm like, it says 100. I said, is that right? Is that correct? And she's like, yep. She's like, you can pay it right now with me. I'm like, sure, pay it right now with you. There's just so many weird things about that freaking. I will give her a hug for you, Janie. I definitely will. All right, lot lizard time. Here it is. Let me pick out a decent one. All right. Here we go. When the night sky over West Texas turned a bruised purple, the neon sign of Mac's Diner and Truck Stop flickered to life like a lighthouse for the weary. Mac's Diner, Gas, Motel, It blared a flickering turquoise and a low moan of diesel engines drifting across the flat, cracked earth. The smell of fried catfish, cheap coffee mingled with the scent of gasoline and the faint hint of something else, a lingering perfume, cheap perfume and desperation that seemed to follow the building like an old familiar ghost. Inside the diner's interior was a time capsule of 1970s. Vinyl booths, upholstered in faded avocado green, formica tables, scarred with countless coffee cups, a jukebox that still played Stuck on You on repeat, and a wall of rusted fishing lures that the owner, Mac, swore were Lucky Charms. But the true crown jewel of this place was not the trophies or the chandeliers. It was the woman who ruled the lot like a queen on a throne of old rubber tires and broken neon, Lizzo, known among the freight haulers, oil rig workers, and occasional drifter as the lot lizard, white trash royalty, and the Duchess of Diesel. Sat on a cracked plastic throne in the back corner of the diner, her legs crossed, a bottle of bourbon in one hand. Her other hand held a lazy, twirling gold chain that glinted under the busted fluorescent light. Her hair was towering, teased beehive of dyed pink that shone like sunrise on a cheap motel sign. She wore a sequenced jumpsuit that screamed, "I'm here, you're welcome." The kind of get up that made the trucks in the lot slow down and stare. At 5'8" and all curves, she could hold the room with a single look, one that could both be a promise and a threat. She ruled over a motley crew. There was Bob the fry cook, who could flip a pork chop with more flair than a cowboy could lasso a steer. Sally the waitress, with a smile that could melt a hardened oil rig foreman. Mickey, the night shift mechanic, who talked to his tools like they were his children. And the girls of the night, a rotating cast of hustlers who called themselves Raven, Tasha, Lola, and Mimi, each with their own brand of charm. And then there was the stragglers, a couple hitchhikers who never seemed to have a destination, a lone preacher who came for the coffee, and a mysterious old man who always kept a deck of cards close to his chest. Among them all, Earl was Lizzo's chosen toy. He was a 28-year-old trucker with the heart that could beat a sync with a heart that beat in sync with his 18-wheeler's diesel thrum. He was tall, with a beard that smelled of tobacco and sunburnt leather, and his eyes deep, mischievous, and a little too soft. Spent half their time on the road, half their time on Lizzo's glossy, pink, shimmering cheekbones. Earl would swing by every night, pull up his rig, and park so close to the lot's edge that his trailer brushed the back wall. He'd swagger inside, order a plate of biscuits and gravy, and give Lizzo a kiss that left a trail of grease on her cheek. She loved him, no question, and she loved the way he made her feel, like the only queen in the kingdom of rusted metal and midnight oil. The arrival. The night was already thick with a hum of 1,000 insects when the sky split open with a low guttural growl. A massive freight liner, its cab painted in a deep midnight black, covered in a constellation of rusted metal patchwork, roared into the lot like a beast from another world. Its wheels kicked up clouds of dust that made the neon sign flicker as if it was about to die. "Holy hell," Bob muttered, wiping the grease off his hands onto a rag, the words barely a whisper over the clatter of plates. Lizzo, she rose from her throne, a grin already forming. "Well, honey, looks like somebody brought a party," she said, her eyes glinting. "You think it's another lost soul looking for a greasy spoon?" Mac, the owner, an old man with a face weathered like a road sign, shook his head. "That ain't no regular rig, Queen. That trailer's bigger than the whole lot combined." The trucker behind the wheel, none other than Colonel Reddick, former special force operator with a reputation for being as quiet as a snake in a cotton field, pushed his visor down. He did not speak. His eyes did talk. scanning the lot, the neon, the queen herself. The trailer's rear doors yawned open, a cold metallic scent, like a mixture of ozone and old blood, drifted out. Steam rose from the ground where a wooden crate marked only with black on white government seal lay atop of an overturned metal barrel. Inside the crate, the shadows seemed to move on their own. Lizzo's smile faltered. She had heard rumors of something called Project Miniguns, government experiments gone rogue, a myth whispered in trucker bars about a secret program that made tiny but deadly soldiers. She scoffed at it once, but now, Earl, she called, her voice low, half whisper, half command. The doors of his cab swung open with a sigh. Earl stepped out, his boots thudding on the cracked concrete. His eyes narrowed as he caught sight of the mystery cargo. "Who's that?" he asked, his voice gravelly. "Looks like they sent a little surprise for us, big boy," Lizzo answered, flicking the bourbon glass against the bar with practiced, almost theatrical clink. The trailer doors creaked wider, and on top of the crates emerged a troop of military midget super soldiers. They were barely 3 feet tall, every inch of them covered in black tactical gear that made them look like oversized toys. Their helmets were filled with a single glowing red eye that pulsed like a tiny beacon. Their weapons, tiny yet vicious, glinted micro rifles, pocket-sized flamethrowers, and a pair of miniature bazookas that seemed to hum with a low, unholy power. They marched forward, their steps synchronized, each footfall a tiny thud that reverberated like a heartbeat. Their faces were expressionless, no smiles, no fear, only cold, calculated intent. A voice crackled over a hidden speaker, a tiny metallic tone. "Target acquired, eliminate, subject Lizzo the Queen." Lizzo's laughter died in her throat. "Well, ain't that a spicy meatball?" She lifted her bourbon, sloshing the amber liquid onto the floor, a splash forming an improvised moat. "Earl, sweetheart, looks like we got a little bit of rearranging to do. The battle begins." The diner's lights flickered, the jukebox sputtered and then silenced. The midget soldiers lined up, each pulling a tiny brass trigger, their weapons poised. They were meant to be the government's answers to a clean-cut problem. A queen of the road who knew too much, had too many secrets, had spilled the beans about the alien contacts hidden in the desert. Earl stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow across the cracked tiles. "Listen up, little guys," his voice booming. "If y'all think you're going to kill the queen of the lot, and you ain't got the guts to handle a 20-ton truck." "Sir, no. Permission to engage," one of the midget soldiers said in perfect tone. The rest echoed in unison, a chorus of tiny, metallic obedience. Lizzo, never one to back down, raised her hand. "Okay, boys, it's time for a little hospitality. Follow the Queen's orders. Serve me a fight you won't forget." Bob, already wielding a massive skillet, slammed it down onto the metal table. A sizzle of hot oil erupted like a volcanic geyser. He hurled the skillet, the handle snapping like a whip, sending a torrent of scorched oil towards the midget line. The first soldier tried to dodge, but the oil found him. The tiny armor hissed and sizzled, the metal plating melting in an instant. A shriek of static filled the air. The rest, startled, backed up. Sally, armed with a tray of pies, apple, cherry, and pecan, tossed them like missiles. Each pie hit a soldier's helmet, the crust crackling, the filling splattering, blinding the tiny little eyes with sticky fruit. Mickey pulled out a torque wrench from his belt, turned it into a makeshift the soldier's thigh. The soldier's leg buckled, fell, squeaked of broken circuitry echoing across the diner. Lizzo, ever the queen, wielded a golden scepter, an actual gold-plated bottle opener she kept for royal duties. She jabbed it at a soldier's chest, the metal biting into his titanium plating, sending a cascade of sparks into the vaulted ceiling. The battle turned chaotic, quick. A horde of midget soldiers, tiny but deadly, darted through the diner's narrow aisles, firing micro rifles, their bullets hitting the walls, making a series of ping-ping noises. The sound was more comical than terrifying, like a game of whack-a-mole in miniature. Earl, taking advantage of his size, revved his truck up to the dock, rolled a massive cab forward, and used his bumper like a battering ram, crushing 3 of the soldiers under his massive frame, the impact sending them sprawling, their helmets popping like balloons. The girls of the night, Raven, Tasha, Lola, and Mimi, didn't stay in the shadows. They had been watching the chaos unfold while they polished the glossy chrome of the bar stools. Suddenly, they leapt into action, each picking up a bottle of hot sauce from the condiment station and flinging it like liquid fire. The sauce, infused with ghost pepper, hit the tiny soldiers' throats, causing them to gasp, choke, and emit a high-pitched squealing noise that echoed through the diner like a chorus of angry mice. "Hot sauce," Lizzo whispered. "Secret weapon." The old man with the deck of cards, who never ordered food, never spoke, and always kept an eye on everyone, pulled a single card from his deck, a joker's card, tossed it onto the floor. The card burst into a bright light, releasing a pulse of electromagnetic energy. The midget soldiers' weapons sputtered and died. The tiny lights on their helmets flickered out. Mac, grizzled and unflappable, stepped from behind the bar, pulled out a shotgun, an old rusted piece his granddaddy had gave him. He loaded the shell of dynamite butter, a mixture he had concocted by mixing butter, a little flour, and a pinch of powdered explosives, aimed it at the remaining soldiers, and fired. The blast was deafening. The flash of orange fire that burst through the back wall engulfed the entire room in a wave of heat and smoke. The midgets who survived the onslaught were flung apart, their tiny little bodies disintegrating in a shower of sparks. When the smoke cleared, the diner was a mess. The floor slick with oil, the walls streaked with pie filling, and the air thick with the smell of burnt pepper and gunpowder. But the queen, Lizzo, stood tall, still wearing her sequenced jumpsuit, a faint smudge of bourbon on her cheek. Earl stood by her side, his eyes shining with admiration and a little relief. The boys who had survived, Bob, Sally, Mickey, and Mac, leaned against the counter, grinning like kids who had just beaten the final boss in the arcade. We're going to need a new set of plates for the kitchen," muttered Bob, wiping a splatter of cherry pie from his forehead. Lizzo laughed, a short, throaty sound that cut through the stillness. "Well, sugar, when you're the queen of the truck stop, you can't be a little scared of a few short-fused soldiers. Now, who's up for some midnight bacon and egg special? We've got a whole lot of hungry troops left to fed." Earl said, his voice husky. "And maybe we should put a close sign up on that trailer before the next time a government decides to send a little army of mini-men to ruin our fun." The aftermath. The next morning, the sun rose over the barren landscape like a golden coin tossed onto a dusty table. The diner's neon sign buzzed again, steady now, no more flickering. The wrecked trailer, once a looming steel beast, now lay half collapsed, its cargo scattered like broken toys. In the wreckage, among the broken helmets and twisted metal, a small black envelope lay, its seal bearing an eagle clutching arrows. Lizzo, ever the queen, took the envelope and opened it. She read the contents. The letter inside was a mix of apology and threat. "You've overstepped, but we will not forget," she smirked, tucking it into her sequenced jumpsuit. "Tell them the lot lizard don't fear their tiny guns. We've got bigger weapons, like love, bacon, and a whole lot of bourbon." Earl slipped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. "You're as fierce as a desert storm queen, and you got more grit than a whole fleet of tanks. The girls of the night, still nursing and lingering heat in their throats, started a slow rhythmic chant, humming Ring of Fire, as if to usher the next round of madness. The stragglers, the old preacher, and even the old mysterious man with the cards all shared a laugh, a type that shook the walls and rumbled through the concrete. Mac, polishing the bar counter, whispered to Lizzo, "You think they'll ever send another squad? Only if they think we ain't got no more tricks up our sleeves." She lifted up her bourbon, the amber liquid catching the morning light. "And honey, we got a whole hell of a lot more tricks. And somewhere, far beyond the dusty plains of Texas, in a dimly lit government office where the air smells of stale coffee and secrets, a man in a crisp suit stared at a screen that displayed the image of the Queen surrounded by chaos. He sighed, pushing his glasses up on his nose and tapping a key. Recruitment order phase 2. Lizzo laughed as she heard a faint rumble of engines down the road. "Bring 'em out," she said, a grin spread across her face. "The queen of the lot never sleeps." The diner's doors opened, a gust of wind swirled in, and a line of hungry truckers rolled in, their headlights cutting through the early light like a beacon. As they pulled into the lot, the scent of fried catfish, burnt pepper, and fresh coffee welcomed them like an old friend. In the end, the battle was over, but the legend of the Queen of the Lone Star Lot had only just begun to bloom. And as long as there were trucks on the horizon and the neon sign still glowed, Lizzo, the Lotto Lizard, white trash royalty, would keep ruling her kingdom, with Earl at her side, the whole world at her feet, and a new army of midget super soldiers waiting in the shadows, forever afraid of the handful of greasy spoons, a splash of hot sauce, and a queen who could turn any night into a carnival of chaos and comedy. The end. Hard to write these Lizzo stories, Jeff. It's hard to come up with ideas for them. Thank you, guys. I was told that my teenage daughter was shoplifting, so now I have to deal with that. I'm going to wait until after my birthday. Oh, shit. That's funny. What's up, Jim Bob? How are you, buddy? Ricardo? No, they're trying to kill her because she spilled the beans. She spilled the beans on the aliens that are hidden in the desert. He's just finishing up on some stuff. SDL, James Caspolt's just finishing up on some stuff. He's got his own business thing that he's doing. You know, I'm top on his list. He's not giving any interviews until he does them with me. But his buddy Bob reached out to me. Dude, James Caspolt is a super fucking nice guy. Like, super, super nice guy. If you want to check out his music, James Caspolt, obviously, if you don't know who he is, he's a super soldier. New Max Spears, freaking James Rank. Just an amazing person. And I was lucky enough that he responded to me. But he's got a YouTube channel, Commander with a K. just really freaking nice guy. I can't wait to get him on the show. Like, I have so many questions that so many people have not asked him. So I need to hit this really quick more. Well, I corrected myself. I don't understand the funny part of it, Mr. Poor. Just fucking with you. All right. What's up, King Oz? PG, how are you? I saw a dog-faced, yellow-eyed, gnarling beast in what looked like a trench coat opposite a graveyard. I know this sounds dumb as anything you've ever heard, but I swear it to be true. My girlfriend at the time was working in a bar in the village that she lived in. The village is pretty quaint, and she lived at the bottom of the hill that was around a mile or so. I went to the bar to meet her after her shift, and we had no more than 2 drinks. So we left at around 12:30 a.m. and said our goodbyes to the manager and the other bar girl. As we are walking to her house, following the same route we always do, we would pass, I know this sounds cliche, a typical graveyard. This village is very old, and the graveyard is as well, naturally. Anyway, I make a joke about the graveyard being open, and we simultaneously laugh out of nervousness when we see about 30 seconds later in mid chat that the gates are in fact wide open. This was strange at the time, it was. So me being the 19-year-old dick boyfriend starts to wind her up and try to scare her for a little fun. She brushes it off and we continue our walk. Just for the record, my girlfriend at the time was and still is fairly skeptical, but I have had an odd shit happen to me since I was a kid. I digress. We continue walking. She looks behind and says, "What the hell is that?" Standing by the bushes next to the pathway directly adjacent to the graveyard stands what I can only describe as a tall, straggly man thing with a dog's face, bright yellow eyes, and the most malevolent expression on its face I had ever seen, staring at me from around 70 meters. I let out a "holy shit," grabbed her by her wrist, and started to run. She starts crying, literally drops to the pavement and starts shaking. I lift her up and practically carry her. We are at the bottom of the hill, and my memory is not clear after that. I assume the lack of that we did get home no problem. I do remember, however, that we just kind of didn't talk about it after. I still speak to her, and this incident was 11 years ago. I'm now 30. It came into my head the other day when I was chatting with her on Facebook, and I asked her if she remembered it. She said she did, and she was freaked out. She also said it was the only time she has ever seen me afraid. I was terrified. Andy Davis, Nikola Tesla, Lisa McDonald, how are you guys? Hollow Days in the Sun, how are you? Key West Cat Lady. On meds twice a day and eating liquids. Oof. The store was sold out, Rosie. The store was sold out. So I only have Coke in a can tonight. I have no Mexican Coke tonight, just the old American Coke. Mad Axe Man, thank you so much, brother. I've always been drawn to the mysterious, dark allure of the forest near my town. Legends about a creature known as the crawler has intrigued me despite the warnings from locals. Chilly autumn evening, my friends and I decided to venture into the woods deeper than most have ever gone. As night fell, an eerie silence surrounded us. The usual sounds of the forest, rustling leaves and chirping crickets, had vanished, replaced by a quiet that made our skin crawl. We huddled together, our flashlights casting shadows on the trees. Despite our nervous laughter, a sense of dread was hung in the air. Suddenly, I noticed something unsettling. A faint crawling movement in the underbrush caught my eye. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, or perhaps a small animal. But as I directed my flashlight toward it, my heart nearly stopped. There, emerging from the darkness, was a figure that I could not comprehend. It was gaunt and elongated, its limbs contorted in a way that defied natural movement. The creature's pale, molted skin seemed to glow faintly, and its eyes, those horrific red eyes, locked onto us with a malevolent intensity. I was paralyzed, unable to look away as the creature's movements grew more pronounced. Its crawling was swift and unnatural, with every joint bending in impossible angles. The silence was broken only by my friend's panicked breathing and a creature's low guttural growl. Desperation did take hold, and one of my friends shined their flashlight directly at the creature. For a brief moment, we saw its face, grotesque, hollow eyes with a gaping mouth. The sight was enough to drive us into a frantic flight. We stumbled through the forest, branches clawing at us. The darkness seemed to close in. My heart was racing with every step as this creature's eerie, inhuman cries were coming from behind us. The forest seemed to be alive with this unnatural energy. It was a living nightmare trying to drag us back into its depths. We finally burst out of the woods, grasping for a breath and shaking in absolute terror. I glanced back. The forest looked calm and unchanged, a deceptive facade hiding some terrible creature. We had promised never to return, though the memory of that creature will always haunt my dreams. To this day, people still talk about some sort of strange creature known as the crawler on the internet, and I'd understand why. The forest always will be a dark, formidable place where the unseen can become far too real for anyone who goes in at night. I often wonder if that thing is still out there, waiting for the next soul to venture. Anyway, that's my experience. I hope to never have that shadowy embrace of that forest again. Thank you. This one's freaking really cool. I like this one. Steph, good night. I didn't even see Steph pop in. I'm sorry. Otis Driftwood, how are you? Steph, I apologize for not seeing you pop in, brother. Jaded Knight. Ronald Stubbs, thank you. A friend of mine. They didn't say where the experience happened. A friend of mine worked at DMV for over 4 years. 4 years during that time, she waited on a dozen customers. Ricardo, I really wish we had more giant spiders. I've shared a few for an old subscriber. Oh, thank you, Jaded Knight. I appreciate that. There was an old subscriber called Thunderbolt and Lightning that used to be here, and he loved cryptid spider stories. So I said he didn't leave where it happened at, my friend. Sumner, what's up, buddy? Ronald Stubbs. Thank you once again, Jaded. Appreciate you. This one's pretty cool. I like this one. I was walking my dog, a black and white pitty retriever mix, outside before putting him to bed at around 11 p.m. Very dark, as there is a lot of wooded areas around my apartment complex. I usually walk him about a half a mile or so out from the complex to a stop sign and the light post at the end of the street, which borders on the woods. Usually there is nothing out of the ordinary, just the woods and normal animals like squirrels and the occasional skunk and deer. Sometimes there's that weird heavy feeling like something is watching you intently, but I mostly ignore it and we cut our walk short and head home since a brief scan of the area shows nothing around. On this night, there was that heavy, watched feeling again, but when I scanned the woods, there was something there. A dog with glowing yellow eyes that looked exactly like my dog, down to the heart-shaped white spot on his chest, standing just past the tree line, staring directly at us. It looked like it could be my dog's exact twin, but there was something off about it that invoked the feeling of run. My dog definitely saw it as well and was whining and stared at it hard. Usually my dog is reactive to other large dogs, but he seemed more scared than anything else and wanted to get the hell away from it, which is very abnormal for him. After seeing it, I fought that run feeling and walked quickly but casually back to the gated area and home without looking back, but listening very hard for anything coming from behind us. Instinctively, it felt like the safe thing to do. I don't know why. It seemed like it didn't follow, but who knows? I do know that I will be skipping the nighttime walks for a little bit now, that's for sure. Anyway, I live in northern Georgia, base of the Appalachians. I didn't grow up here, so I'm not sure of local folklore of a dog creature that will look just like your dog. Anyway, it's all weird for me. Thank you. Sorry for the writing. Writing, I don't know what that word is. I am on my mobile. Got to do the upstate shake. There we go. That's better. There is definitely some shit in Georgia. This all happened when I was a kid, but the other day I was telling someone this random childhood memory and realized how incredibly weird it was. My grandmother used to own this small section of woods. We'd do there often in the summer. The adults would sit around and have some drinks, snacks, and the kids would go out and play. The area had small patches of woodland surrounded by farmland. One day, my cousins and I were walking along the dirt path, woods on one side, open farmland on the other. That section of woods was owned by someone else, so we never went in there, just walked by it. We were just casually chatting, pointing at the shed they had in there because it looked like the one my grandma had. Suddenly, something came storming through the woods, sort of winding around the trees, running at us. My best description of it now would be a centaur. Front of it was very big, like the size of a very tall, buff adult man, and the back was much shorter and looked like some kind of animal. There was a lot of bush and undergrowth there, so as a normal human running through there at that speed, it would be impossible. We freaked out and ran back to the adults. We told them pretty much the exact same thing that I just shared with you. Some of the older cousins came back with us to see if they could identify it, but there was nothing there when we got back. The wooded area is small, thin strips, so not many wild animals there, mostly pheasant, hare, and an odd deer. Farmers nearby kept cows and horses, which we'd seen often before, and this definitely did not look like them. It was very different shapes and very different size. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? Thomas Brewer, how are you? I don't see BD Mac tonight. Pups isn't here. BD Mac. Papa, how are you? Shut up your face. Jerry James. No, I don't believe any of those anything on TikTok is AI. There's so many AI bullshit videos out there. And I talked about why I don't think we'll ever have a decent video or picture of these creatures. This is my own theory. I've been researching them long enough. I'm not like some new fucking looking for views. Like, I absolutely never thought I'd have a bunch of subscribers. So, like, I love the research. I'm obsessed with it and obsessed with these creatures. The AI videos, those are bullshit. There's like too many of them. The reason why I believe we will not have a decent photo, the best one I've ever seen was Kirk Stokes and Scott Carpenter's. I said that 3 weeks ago. Those are the two best videos I've ever seen. But the reason why I feel like we will never have them is because I believe these creatures they can travel through dimensions. They can use portals. Hence the reason why 1 second we see them and then we don't. How some people say Bigfoot ran behind this tree and then it was gone. The tree was only this big. So by using the ability to use portals and travel, I believe that there's some sort of frequency or electromagnetic energy around them that distorts the photos, that distorts the video. There are some decent videos, and some decent pictures. There's one that a ranch had captured, and you just see the back of it walking. But even that's distorted because the fur, it looks grayish brown. But with the way the light hit it, it almost looks blue. It's weird. That's just my own kind of theory. So I wish there was not these channels that, like when I put a video up that has video clips in it, I say real creepy video. It's not real. And I'll say that. And I'll never tell you my own theory on the video. I leave it up to you guys to decide. Like, the only video I will put on my channel that I 100% believe is real is Kirk Stokes, because I have the permission to use it. I don't have permission to use Scott Carpenter's, so I won't put it on my channel, but I believe his is real as well. So that's my own thing. There's a picture of some hunters that had killed a big dog that was online for a while ago and comes back. See, what happens in this community, like my channel is 8 years old. So I have seen videos and pictures come on, stay around for 6 months, then go away, come back a year or two later, go away. Different story. There's one story that this guy had killed a huge werewolf, Dogman. They call it werewolf, and said it happened in multiple states of America. But it's actually a huge dog that was hunted in Africa, and it's on a hunter's blog. It's not a dog man. It's not a werewolf. It's a fucking real animal that was killed. That's just absolutely ginormous, and on a blog post. And people saw the picture and fucking said, "Hey, this was shot in West Virginia. Hey, this was shot here." There's just a lot of bullshit. No, it wasn't a brown hyena. It was I forget the name of it. American hunter that shot the AKA African werewolf. What kind of dog was that? Yes, a giant brown hyena. Yes, you're right, Simone. It's a giant brown hyena. And the guy's got it. There's two guys. They're holding it up like this. And like that's the thing. Nobody will like look at these pictures. They'll see them on Facebook, they'll see them on Instagram, and they'll fucking buy it because it's got to be real because it's on a cryptid Facebook post and everybody says it's real. But instead of like reverse Google image searching for it, they'll fucking believe it and be like, "Oh, it's real because it's on Facebook." Like those are the cheesiest. Reddit and Facebook cryptid groups are the cheesiest fucking things in the world because they just put bullshit out. No, it was a giant brown hyena, not a hybrid. Yeah, send that to me, Steve. I'd like to hear that. Ring cameras catch some real shit. There's that one ring photo or video that like caught like it looked like a little creature. And I've tried to look at it and like it's supposedly an alien from Compton. I can't figure out if it's real or not. The reason why is because the ring caption in it is real. It's not a fake ring image AI produced. So it kind of weirds me out. Also, you have the Las Vegas thing that was caught on ring. So like I will kind of maybe believe the one in Compton. Just one, because it's hard for AI to create and use a copyrighted, it can't copyright the word ring cam or however the copyright thing is on the ring picture or video stuff. So I don't know. Outside in, if you just type in African giant brown hyena, American hunter shot it, the real story is there. You got to find the real story. It's there. It's not, and that's another thing. The first 3 stories on Google are not the real ones. Like you got to scan down to find the real one. AI is like the first 2 or 3. Because AI makes our life much more handier. And AI is just AI. These like videos and pictures are I believe part of them are created by the government to create a bigger web of conspiracy to make us look more stupid to the rest of the world that doesn't know these creatures exist. Like usually you can see an AI video and be like, that's clearly AI. Some people can't, like there's some people that the technology just kind of confuses them. It's like, oh, that looks real. But if you look at the AI videos, you can clearly tell that like they're not real. And try to find them too. You know what I mean? If you try to backtrack the origin of them. But I believe that the government is creating these fictitious videos and pictures and just putting them out on the internet. And then people will be like, oh my God, that looks so real. This is my first time sharing, and I'm looking for explanations. 2 or 3 years ago, I was with some friends in my car outside of one of my friends' houses. It was around 9 p.m. wintertime, so relatively dark, but clear weather. There was 5 of us in the car, myself and a friend in the passenger seat, as well as 3 friends sitting in the middle row. It was an SUV. We're talking about some random shit when all of a sudden I feel this intense feeling go down my spine, like we were being watched. I turned to my friend in the passenger seat, and he looked up at me at the same time like he had just seen a ghost. I asked him if he felt it as well, and he said yes. None of the other friends in the back felt anything. We felt really strange, but ignored it and kept talking. A few minutes later, the feeling came back stronger than before. And once again, my friend and I looked at each other at the same time. He looked right past me out the driver's side window, which my back was to, and told me, don't turn around. None of my other friends saw anything, but he said there was something out there. And I did feel some sort of presence behind me. We took turns describing to each other what we sensed it looked like. And we were for sure both seeing or sensing the same thing. It was a pure white humanoid, but the details of what we sensed were fuzzy to me, clearer description for him. This is where it gets weirder. My friend and I both felt this presence making circles around the vehicle. We began to both see this glowing green circle moving quickly around us. It's hard to explain, but we couldn't really see them. It was more knowing that they were there. They began to move faster and freaking us more out. Then all of a sudden, it just disappeared. Once again, we both felt these, but nobody in the back did. Then passenger seat friend and I were leaning back to talk to the middle row friends when all of a sudden on the sidewalk behind the car was a flash of white light and a creature sprinting down towards us. It was pale white, bipedal, somewhat human, very tall and lanky. I'm going to guess maybe 7 feet in height. It had a very strange shaped head, almost like a cross between a dog, horse, or deer. No antlers, just the elongated snout. Long black thin hair, black eyes, and claws. My friend and I in the front screamed simultaneously. I started the car and got the hell out of there. Once we were far away, we once again took turns describing to each other what we saw. We both at one point had the other's description. I took everyone home. Then, as I was driving home, I still felt the presence behind me. I couldn't tell if it was in the car or not, but whenever I got to a stop sign or light, I felt it catching up. So I sped the rest of the way home. Once I did get home, the feeling was gone. Both my friend and I could sense it, that whatever it was wasn't there to kill us or anything, just to make its presence known, like it has happened before or since. The only relevant connecting factor between the passenger seat friend and I, that those in the back did not share, we are both Christian. Anyway, thanks for letting me share. Where is DB Mac? What's up, Zilla? How are you, brother? So 55.5. Yeah, the alien. My daughter actually talked. I had my daughter find the kid. Hi. I shared this last week. Um, Angel was his name, about the Las Vegas thing. The one dead Dogman picture that you're talking about, I'm guessing where it's dead in the road or whatever, that was created by a guy on Instagram. And then there's that one video where it's lying dead and it's breathing. That's another guy on Instagram. He's an FX artist. He like creates these things. No, I did not clean the horn. Yeah, that's the picture that you're talking about. It's the guy's name is, I saved his post so I could share it, like, because every once in a while, that's another thing that circles back around. There's that one in the giant otter's foot that is like in the muck, and it's a giant otter's foot, but because of how it was taken, it looks bigger, and then people on Facebook cryptid fucking things are like, that's really a Dogman foot. Once again, just Google, like, search the image, search it, and you can find it. It's easy to do. It just takes a little bit of time. Let me find it. I got the guy. His name's Rob. Let me see if I can do it this way. I'm following. I wish there was a way of. Ah, shit. Rob. I'll put it in the community post later when I find it. I don't want to take up too much time. Rob. But it's going to drive me nuts now for a second. Let me see. Rob. I'll find it. I'll put it in the community post so you guys can see the thing. What the fuck was that noise? I don't know if you guys can hear it. It sounds like someone's pushing like a cart. Because $20 is $20. Too bad Sully wasn't here because that's the only song he ever picks. Eye of the Tiger. Smitty got it. Is that the same one? Yeah. Same one. Okay. All right. This one is fucking cool. This story is really fucking creepy. This story took place in northern Alabama. Oh, God damn it. This took place near Moulton, Alabama. It took moving 1,000 miles away to finally feel comfortable enough to share this with you. This happened just before my senior year of high school over a period of 3 weeks in the summer. I was 17 years old, drug-free, sober. At the most, I took Advil for headaches every now and then. I just want to assure you that I was not on any mind-altering substance or long-term medication that could affect my cognitive ability. During the summer, my curfew was 11 p.m., and this occurred while driving home from my, at the time, boyfriend's house, which took roughly 15 minutes, so let's say 10:45 at night. I was full of energy. At this time, I was a night owl, so I was not even remotely tired. Wait a second. Damn it! This wasn't the fucking story I wanted to share. Fuck! I gotta share it now. Fuck. Sorry. I was full of energy at this age and a night owl, so I was not even remotely tired. In fact, I was hyped up with a warm summer nighttime breeze, car windows down, singing along with the radio. I took a shortcut through the back roads to avoid getting into the tiny city with the jerk cops. Also, one of the roads I took is super straight and flat, so I could really speed, and that feels great when you're a teenager. But right before that road, I would have to take 2 very close turns to get onto it. First, I'd take a right turn that was more a 90-degree, almost back the way I'd come. Then in exactly a half a mile, I would turn left onto a long straightaway where I could really bury the needle. Since it was only a half a mile, I normally didn't speed up that much because the small stretch of road was more like packed gravel and would be a waste, as I would have to slow down again to turn left onto the much better road where I could really let loose. The tiny property on the inside corner of this left turn is where this all went down. A house had recently been built there, 2 stories with a detached garage, and it seemed odd how quickly it had been erected, as we built our family house and it took us a year. I will start at the beginning because I believe this is all related. Week 1, I am positively jamming to music. Wind whipping through my car feels great, and I am relaxed in a very familiar drive home. I slow down to make my right turn onto the rough rural road, just bebopping along when my lights illuminate something stunning sitting on the corner of the road. It's a wolf, a real wolf, solid white real wolf. I know the difference in my dog breeds and a wolf. I love watching dog competitions, wildlife documentaries, and have even met quarter wolf. They look different than domestic dogs. This was a wolf, and it is amazing, and it is blowing my mind. I slow down even more while I turn the music down. I'm getting close to it, and I notice that it's not minding me at all. It's sitting perfectly still on the corner of the road, staring at this house, almost unblinking. Its ears didn't even flick towards me. All its attention focused on the house. I was so close I could have reached out my window and brushed the fur on the back of its neck. I was smiling and amazed, but my mind was already churning. It made no sense for a wolf to behave like this, even less for there to be a white wolf or a wolf in rural northern Alabama in the summer. I came to a complete stop behind it, marveling at its fur and presence. I felt euphoric, like I had seen something rare and blessed. My mind made me jump to a local native story of a animal spirit guardian, and I started to wonder. I couldn't stay, though. My mom would never believe me if I told her that was why I was late, because of my spirit wolf. With a sigh, I said goodbye to this creature than ever. I got to see something special, and it filled me with emotions of joy and peace. Second week, I'm driving home again, and I had been taking extra care to keep an eye out for this wolf, hoping to see him again around that area, so I drove extra slow with my windows down and radio off. This was a horrible mistake. I should have realized what the presence of this guardian meant, that there was danger. I was on the short road approaching this new little house, and that's when I saw it. The thing that was to this day makes me question my sanity, my reality, and possibly the possibility of eldritch terrors of Lovejoy described. It was crouched right before the mailbox, its limbs folded and pulled in tight with its hunched posture, yet its head was still taller than the box. It was a molded green and black with undertones of blue. It looked wet and slimy all over. Its head was elongated, allowing for an extended maw of full razor sharp teeth. The upper half of the body looked emaciated, with barely more than frog-like thin skin pulled over its angular long bones, ropey muscles to hold it all up. And at the end of its grossly stretched arms were these equally terrible long fingers, while its legs had bulk to them and looked equipped for running, with back-facing knees for sprinting, and tipped in raptor-like curved claws. It looked tall, maybe 7 feet in height, just folded up into the predator's posture, waiting for its prey. Then there were its eyes, solid black and sunken. I still want to vomit thinking about these things. Then I realized it's going to look at me, it's going to see me, and there is no avoiding it. Panic, terror is unique to this alien thing, swallowed me instantly, feeling like I was tilting off the world I'd always known, and into the abyss where monsters like this exist. I could not breathe, but I had to get my windows up. I had to get my window up or possibly be ripped apart by this creature. I had to crank my window up because I was scared of crashing into the water, not being able to get out of the car. I realized that there are far worse things in this world than crashing into water. Its head was turned towards me now, and I had let off the gas, but I'm still getting closer to it. It made me want to scream, but I had to get my window up first. I started to cry as I finally got the window closed. Then I put my gas pedal to the floor. Gravel be damned. I thought I must not look at it in the past. I mused not long. I must not look at it or make direct eye contact. I just shouldn't. It's not good to make contact with these things. I've already seen too much. My tires finally found grip and I started to launch forward. Fuck. I'm mumbling through my tears. I slid around the first turn, fishtailed. I felt sick. My heart was hammering. I had snot and tears running down my face. Week 3, I refused to take the shortcut anymore. I ended up calling my boyfriend that night, and of course he did not believe me. I was crying, and he was very dismissive. For that reason, I would leave my boyfriend's house a little early because I did not want to take this route anymore. On one of those days, we went to the park to walk around, and on the way back, he described he wanted to drive by the house where I saw the thing. I was hysterically begging him not to drive there, but he would not be dissuaded. So as we got closer, I could not stop him. I leaned in my passenger seat, leaned it all the way back, and pulled myself down, cowering in panic, getting near the place. I hid below the windows, covered my eyes. At one point, he stopped the car. "Spooky, you have to see this," he said. I said, "No," I whined, resisting him. "No, you really have to see this. Look," he said in a changed tone of astonishment. Tears are still in my eyes. I uncurled and slowly peeked over the rim of the window. The house was gone, burnt clear down to the foundation, with only a handful of framing beams standing. The ground around the house was blackened, like perfectly large circles. My boyfriend started to get out of the car. I shouted, "No, let's get out of here," while I grabbed for his arm, but he easily avoided it. He walked around the ashy pile of the ruins of this house, looking for a stick to stoke the fire again. When he finally came back, he had an intense look on his face. There was no evidence, any personal belongings, furniture, power, yada yada. I never wanted to see that thing again or that place again. I went out of my way to avoid these roads in the area. Talking about it still makes my chest tighten. My skin crawls, my eyes water. My brain still has trouble because I know I saw it. A thing that was nothing like any creature known to humans. Yet I still saw it. I believe this wolf creature that I saw first was definitely the guardian of the land, and whatever that creature was that I saw second was what may have attacked the wolf at one point. But anyway, never saw either again. Not with my boyfriend either anymore. Thank you. Ugh. We got about an hour and 42 minutes in. I think it's time for... Is it time for that second Lizzo story? What's up, Bang? How are you? Good to see you. All right. Here's the second Lizzo story of the evening. I'll save the best for last. The neon Earl's diner and fuel flickered like a dying vampire's eyelid every night, casting a sickly pink glow over the cracked asphalt and rust-caked trucks that slumbered into the lot. It was the sort of place that showed up on GPS screens as detour and on the backs of truck drivers' tattoos as a warning, don't stop here unless you're willing to pay and more than just $1. Lizzo, real name Lisa Marie Lizzo O'Connor, had claimed the lot as her kingdom the first time in the 70s, had dropped a load of bourbon bottles right beside her battered pink Mini Cooper. She sauntered out, high-heeled boots clicking on the asphalt, and declared, "Ladies, the queen has arrived. Let's turn this junkyard into a palace." She was the lot lizard in most literal sense. She had gotten her start slithering between trucks for tips, a skill she redefined in an empire of services that ranged from fuel injection consultant to overnight entertainment for those lonely haulers. The women who worked for her, some with tattoos spelling "stay out," other with eyes that glowed like headlights, were loyal not because Lizzo paid them, but because she protected them ferociously. She was the queen, and the truck stop was her court. Her court's most devoted subject, Earl, was 6'2", long haul monster with a beard that could hide a small family of squirrel. He drove a 1995 Peterbilt that coughed black smoke like a smoker with a bad cold. He was more boy toy than bad boy or boyfriend, a phrase that meant he'd follow her anywhere as long as there was diesel engines involved. One rain-soaked Thursday night, the diner's jukebox sputtered out "Don't Fear the Reaper" when a bright, humming vortex opened up behind the old dented 24-hour sign.
It pulsed like a strange greenish light that made the grease-stained booths look like they were covered in ectoplasm. A low guttural popping sound in the truck tire burst. The air smelled of ozone and a mix of burnt rubber. Earl! Lizzo shouted, clenching a half-eaten chicken biscuit, her voice echoing off steel and stained concrete. What in the name of every damn stoplight is that? Earl, who was polishing the chrome of his rig with a rusted wrench, squinted. Looks like a portal, baby. You see no signs of speed limits? Before Lizzo could retort, a vortex tide surged forward, dragging the entire diner's front wall, the neon sign and everything in front of it in a swirling maw. The rest of the lot, empty diesel tanks, half-finished coffee, and a lone, shivering prostitute named Cora, watched in stunned silence as the whole scene vanished. 1692, Salem's darkest hour. The world snapped back into existence with a deafening crash. The neon glow was gone, replaced by a flickering torchlight of the 17th century meeting house. A pungent stench of pine resin and damp earth replaced the greasy smell of bacon and diesel. Lizzo stumbled onto a cobblestone street. Her pink boots splashed over a puddle of something that looked suspiciously like blood. Earl, still clenching his wrist, stared up at the wooden sign that read, Welcome to Salem, 1692. He let out a low, throaty laugh that sounded more like a truck engine revving in reverse. Good, babe. We're in the middle of this witch hysteria. You think we have Wi-Fi? Lizzo shouted, pulling the Mini Cooper's hatch open to reveal a half-eaten chicken biscuit and a bottle of cheap vodka. A group of townfolk, their face gaunt, eyes wild with fear, emerged from the shadows. Their leader, a gaunt preacher with blackened beard, pointed Lizzo and Earl out with a cracked wooden spoon. Witches, he shouted. Burn them at the stake. The devil has sent them to tempt us. Earl raised his wrench like a medieval mace. Hold up, Pastor. Who you calling witches? This looks more like a nightclub than a Salem rave. Lizzo, never one to be intimidated, stepped forward, her posture regal, despite the mud-caked boots. Lizzo, gentle folk, she said, her voice echoing off the timbered walls. Damn it. I am queen of this lot. We are not here to hex anyone. We are just looking for a place to park our vehicles, the crowd hissed. A teenage girl clutched a rag doll, stared at Lizzo with reverence, perhaps mistaking her for a deity. A burly blacksmith snatched his hammer and brandished it like a cudgel. You're to be burned, the preacher screamed, pulling a length of rope. Whoa, Earl bellowed, swinging his wrench and knocking the rope from the preacher's hand. You want to swing me? I've got a rig that can crush this town. They fought in a chaotic ballet of steel and fury. Earl's massive arms swung the wrench with terrifying precision, denting the blacksmith's armor and sending a couple of townfolk sprawled into the mud pit, where they emerged sputtering and cussing. Lizzo, armed with her infamous Lotto, a glittering silver-painted bottle of cheap tequila, threw it at the preacher, shattering it against his forehead. The liquid sizzled. The preacher's eyes turned to a wild violet before they collapsed, coughing up a mixture of blood and brandy. Even in the midst of absurdity, the darkness lingered. The real witches of Salem, 3 women accused of conjuring a storm that ruined the harvest. They were tied to the wooden stake in the center of the square, their faces pale, eyes pleading. Lizzo's eyes flicked to them. She realized that while the townfolk were busy battling the invasion, these women were about to become the next victim. Innocent or guilty, no one could tell. Earl, she hissed, grabbing his arm, we need to get those girls out. The kids in my kingdom haven't seen a day without a pit stop, but these, she gestured to the women, they need a way out. Earl gave a slow nod. We're not witches, but we sure as hell ain't no devil's minions. Let's give 'em a ride. The heist and the haunting. The trio, Lizzo, Earl, and the three condemned women, made a daring dash toward the town's outskirts, where the crumbling stone wall marked the boundary of Salem's forest. The townsfolk, still dazed from the earlier brawl, chased after them, their torches casting grotesque shadows across the cobblestones. Earl, with the strength of a locomotive, lifted the three women onto his truck's flatbed. What a sight to see, as this truck was sleek 1990s Peterbilt had mysteriously appeared alongside their portal. The vehicle's engine roared in a deafening sound that made the townsfolk stop dead in their tracks. What in God's name? The preacher, now revived, with a fresh dose of whiskey from his own hidden flask, eyes wide open. Jesus Christ, it's a metallic beast, another cried, clutching his rosary tighter. Lizzo, wielding a broken bottle like a scepter, shouted, All right, you devil worshippers, this is a no-fly zone. Get your big asses back into the woods, or we'll start burning this whole damn town down. The townsfolk, unsure whether to flee or fight, hesitated. The smell of diesel and burned rubber filled the air, a scent that no 17th century mouth could comprehend. At the last second, a crack of thunder ripped through the sky, and a portal, still humming with the same greenish light, reopened above the forest canopy. Like a wounded eye, it pulsed, urging them. Lizzo turned to Earl. Are you ready to get home? The morning rush is coming, and the lot's got a line of 18-wheelers. Girls need their accommodations. Earl gave a half a smile, his beard dripping with mud and his eyes tight with the thrill of the chase. Let's roll, Queen. But Lizzo had one last demand. Hold the portal open for a second. Let's make sure those girls aren't burned. She lifted the three women and placed them in the portal's edge. The green light swirled around them. The women's eyes widened as they felt a strange pull. Where are we going? One whispered, her voice trembling. Home, Lizzo replied, her voice soft for once. You're safe now, dearie, and you'll never be called a witch again unless you want to be. The portal surged, and a gust of wind threw the women through the dazzling swirl of light that backward as if the earth itself may give way. The three women dissolved into the portal, their bodies leaving behind a faint scent of pine and lilac, an unsettling sweet smell that seemed to replace the stench of fear. The portal snapped shut with the sound like a truck's air brakes, leaving behind a stunned crowd and a smoldering battlefield. Back to the diner. The Peterbilt hurled through the vortex, its wheels squealing as reality flexed and snapped. The neon sign of Earl's Diner flickered back to life as the truck slammed into the cracked asphalt with a thud and rattled the greasy-stained windows. The rain had stopped. The sky was pale, bruised pink just before the sunrise. The diner's door swung open with huge showering spray of coffee and muffins onto the lot. Inside, the few regulars. Bob the mechanic, the night shift nurse, a woman who claimed to be the only honest trucker's wife, watched, blinking as the portal's residual glow faded. Lizzo straightened her pink booties, brushed off the mud, and looked at Earl, who was still clenching his wrench, now glowing faintly with a strange, otherworldly residue. Babe, You never think we'd ever get a taste of history, Earl said, his voice still thick with an echo of gunfire and the roar of the 17th century. Lizzo smirked, a glint in her mischievous eyes. History, honey. We just rewrote the witch trials. Those girls are safe. And those townfolk, well, they'll have a very interesting story to tell their grandbabies. A sudden clatter echoed from the kitchen. The chef, a burly man named Gus, yelled, "Morning rush, people! We got 12 rigs in a line, 100 hungry truckers, and a queen of the lot is back in business." Lizzo laughed, slamming a fist on the counter. "All right, my minion, stay sparkling. Earl, you keep that truck warmed up, and for the love of sake, and all that's greasy, no more portals tonight. The only thing I want to open is, well, you know, that in the kitchen." Earl lifted his wrench, raised it triumphantly. "Deal, Queen." The sky was brightening as the sun rose over Salem, Massachusetts, casting a golden hue that made no sense. Trucks began to pull in, their headlights cutting through the morning fog. Lizzo watched them arrive. The Queen surveyed her kingdom. She turned to Earl, who was already scribbling a new welcome to the kingdom sign on a napkin. "You know," she said, "maybe the next time we should just stick to keeping girls safe. No more time traveling witch hunts." Earl chuckled, his laugh rumbling like a low fuel sign. "Sounds like a plan, Queen, but where's the fun in all that?" Lizzo smiled, her eyes glinting with a mixture of mischief and melancholy. "The fun is in the chaos, babe. And in fact, that we saved a few souls both in Salem and right here on our lot. Let's just hope the next portal we open heads to a happy hour, not a hangman's noose." As the first rig pulled into the lot, the diner's speakers crackled to life, blasting 70s disco tracks. The beat pulsed throughout the concrete, though very souls of the lot lizards and trucks alike. Damn it. Lizzo raised a bottle of cheap vodka, her royal chalice, to the heavens, to the kingdom, to the portals, and to the girls we saved. May our nights be wild, our mornings chaotic, and our stories never boring. Earl lifted his coffee mug in a mock toast, his eyes sparkling with diesel fuel. "And may the next portal lead straight to a breakfast buffet." As the sun broke over the horizon, the lot lizard, with the faint hums of engines, the clatter of plates, and the occasional distant echo of the portal's faint green light, just enough to remind Lizzo that somewhere in the other time a queen once ruled that kingdom with fear, fire, and very, very confused preacher. And as the rush hour surged today, the queen of the lot lizards marched on. Damn it, my eyes are fucking... I need to take a minute from reading for a second. What's up, Craigers? How are you, buddy? Oh, Smitty, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. I'm working on it. Actually, I was talking to my mom and dad the other day, and I'm like, my dad was trying to come up with a Lizzo story, and I'm like, every live stream when I do a Lizzo story, they want the book. They want the book. I think they would buy the Lizzo book before they bought a cryptid book. I'm like, the Lizzo books would just be phenomenal. And if I could find someone to illustrate it, would be amazing. Like, do you guys remember when Dark Waters
Dark Waters put a comic book out, and it was Siege at the Lockett Ranch comic book. Probably the greatest Dogman experience ever to be shared on his channel or any other channel. I love that. I love that fucking story. And he turned it into a comic book. It was so cool. Ugh. Graphic novel like Calvin and Hobbes. It would take so long to do. It would be worth it though. Dude, I heard someone scream. Dude, that sounds like a little fucking kid. Dude, I almost want to call the cops. Should I call the cops? I'm calling 911. Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm sitting in my studio room, and I'm on Bay and May, on the corner of Bay and May, and I swear to God, like it just sounded like a little kid is screaming, like a little kid. I don't see anybody, but I hear like wheels rumbling, like someone like a carriage or something, and I can't hear it anymore. But it sounded like it was going towards Cumberland Farms, around that area, maybe by the synagogue or by Cumbies. I don't hear it anymore, but it was loud enough to where I'm doing a YouTube live stream and people could hear it on my live stream. No, I'm not going to share that. I just wanted to share this, that maybe a police officer could come and look around. Thank you. Bye. Dude, that was a little fucking kid, man. That was fucked up. That was fucked up. That sounded like, I don't know, like one of my babies when they were fucking mad at me. Dude, what the fuck? No, I don't live near any woods, right? Like where I live, there's no woods. I'm in the city just on the foothills. You have to go like 10 minutes north of my house to be in the mountains, in the woods. Definitely not a Bigfoot. I want to see if a cop goes by, and then we'll finish some. Because you guys can fucking hear that, right? There's the cop right there. All right, a cop did go, so. How fucking bizarre was that, man? I kind of wish I called before. Like, I kind of wish I had called right when I heard it. Because now I'm like, should I have called, like, I don't know. That's going to fuck with my head all night. No, there was no gunshot. I didn't say there was a gunshot. I just said it. You could hear what I could hear. It sounded like the best way to describe. I know you guys could hear the screaming, but the best way to describe the wheels. You know the plastic garbage cans that you put out front of your house? You know how they sound on concrete that's cold? That's what it sounded like. Something like that. And then like a little kid screaming. Dude, that's going to fuck my head up all night. There's another cop right there. Another cop. Boom. 2 cops. Glens Falls, don't fuck around. All right, hang on. I just want to look out the other window really quick. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be right back. 2 seconds, I promise. I just want to make sure. All right, I'm back. Man, what the fuck? How fucking bizarre is that? Dude, there's too much trafficking going on. You know what I mean? Like, fucking cryptids and shit is scary, but like, the real thing is like trafficking, and these rich fucking weirdos that do it, they probably, I don't even know. Like, it all has involvement with the Luciferian agenda, but fuck. I just picture like one of my kids crying when they were little. All right, I'm sorry. Myself and my friends needed a holiday, and we decided to go to Mexico for a week. There were 4 girls, 5 guys, and that were due to go. I typically thought of tequila and chili, 2 of the best things on my book. We spent all our cash that we had, and in the end, we had to use our cards to get back. No biggie, but we didn't plan for it. So we go to the bar and start a tab behind it and gave them my card to keep until I paid. Kind of stopped us walking out and forgetting to pay for drinks. To sum it up, we had enough money for the holiday. We got to the bar at around 7 o'clock and we were just drinking, having a fun time. Then the screams happened. Oh, Jesus Christ. We were all at the bar and had the road behind it back into the woods. Everyone in the bar heard these screams, but they didn't react like we did. Me and my friends stopped drinking and we were like, what's that noise? We looked around. The other people are just casually drinking. The owner of the bar screamed something in Mexican to the other workers, and straight away they were at the windows pulling the curtains over one another. The owner then dimmed the lights and ran and double locked the door. I kid you guys not. It was like watching something out of a film. The other people in the bar were not reacting to it. They just shrugged it off like it was a daily thing. Myself and my friends were just staring at each other, mouthing profanities. Everyone was quiet, so we took it as we had to be as well. The owner was at the bar and had his hand on the counter, gripping a shotgun and staring at the door. My friend got up and walked over to the bar and asked the owner what's going on. Jake literally got out of his seat and looked at the owner. The owner put his hand out to Jake and motioned for him to sit back down. Without knowing what else to do, Jake sat back down. Then the noise started again. It sounded like someone being torn limb from limb, letting out the most piercing, agonizing scream I had ever heard in my whole life. It would scream, then make a high-pitched animal scream straight away. I'm sorry I can't describe it any better, but it sounded like it was making these 2 noises at the same time.
The hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I started to get goosebumps. The noise seemed to start at the back of the bar, and you could tell it was moving. It made its way outside the windows, and then it was at the door. I'm 100% silently freaking out at this time. The noise was right outside of the bar's door and not moving. I looked around. Everyone in the bar was now frozen, staring at the door, apart from the owner, who still had his hand on the gun. Two loud thuds at the door. It sounded like it was slamming itself against the door and still making that awful noise. No one inside moved. Scratching at the door now. Silence again. After what seemed like half an hour, we heard screams slowly defend back into the forest. People started talking again, and I, for sure, didn't want to stay at that bar after that. I jumped up, ran over to the bar, and said, I want to pay for my drinks. The owner didn't have a problem with that. Said, you and your friends can have your drinks on me if you promise to stay the night. The bar will be open. What the hell is that dude talking about? Stay here. I'm sorry, but we already have a hotel booked. It's only a short walk. I'm now nervous, glaring at my friends. Please come over and help me. No, you don't understand. If you go outside, it will get you. Free drinks, and in the morning, you can go. Well, we ended up staying, and it was a pretty good night. We had free drinks, played some drinking games. We didn't sleep the whole night. The next morning, made it back to the hotel where we all crashed out. Seriously, what the hell was that? Dude, how weird was that, man? Fuck, that's fucking got me bad. Andy, have a good night, brother. Nice seeing you tonight. 59th, what's up? I know, right, Amberly? Weird timing, right? No, they're driving around. They're probably looking somewhere. What's weird is like a block that way. So like, I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it from here, but the cop usually parks there. He hasn't been there in like 2 or 3 months. But if you look this way, straight out that window, there's a road, and there's like a homeless shelter for kids, for teenagers, like abused teenagers and shit. They don't let adults in. It's this really beautiful, like, big house. It was actually 2 houses, and our city. It's a city of 14,000 people where we live in Glens Falls, New York. And they had these 2 big houses, and they combined them. They built like this middle part and created this like almost like a youth hostel that's run by the city for teenagers that have been abused and that are homeless and have scumbag parents. But that's what I thought at first. But then I kept hearing it moving, walking in that fucking the wheels. Don't know. Freakiest fucking live stream yet. Damn it. I should have called like right when I heard it. I should have fucking called. Yeah, that kid was way too young. Like, it sounded like a 4 or 5-year-old, maybe 6, maybe. It sounded like a little baby. Like, Tigger's crashed out on my bed. That doesn't. Nothing bothers Tigger. Tigger's out like a light. He's like, those little cat farts. All right. I'm probably the only person on this planet who has had a true experience with the supernatural like this. I feel like it would be a disservice if I took this to my grave, since I don't want others to make the same mistakes I did. I am here to warn anyone dabbling with the occult to never play with black magic or occultish things. You will only lose your mind, but everything you hold dear, and everything you hold dear. And I am not knocking other people's experiences. I am sure people have other encounters, but there are people who fib. My encounters have led me to dabble in the occult. I first started playing with the occult when I was 17. There was a girl who I loved very much that I would do anything to get with back then. I learned about a book called The Lesser Key of Solomon. I heard that summoning the demons in that book and making a pact with them would get you anything that you desired. So I ventured to my basement with a sigil of the demon Azael and asked for this girl to come back to me. Nothing out of the ordinary happened other than the ritual being over. But I started to feel like someone was pinching my nerve in my heart. The sensation lasted for another 5 hours after the ritual took place, not to mention this very dark and evil energy I could feel the entire day. Anyway, when it turned nighttime that day, my 2 cats walked into my room and played on my bed, which is very uncharacteristic for them. They both proceeded to follow something with their heads that was not there. They then proceeded to chase something and paw the walls as if they're trying to catch something invisible to the human eye. Then my dad's dogs start barking from the top of the stairs at something that was there at the end of the stairs. The thing about my dad's dogs is they will run down the stairs normally and bark while sticking their head out the front window and bark at people. So them barking at something at the bottom of the stairs was very uncharacteristic for them. And the barking was almost like they were scared, frightened. So all the while the animals are going batshit crazy in my house, I decide to lie down. 2 minutes had gone by. I felt as if an almost human hand pushed up from the bottom of my bed and launched my bed 2 meters into the air. When that happened, combined with how concerned I felt about the dogs, I decided to break the pack and put in old Jesus movies and started to watch old Jesus movies and made homemade holy water to sprinkle around my house while invoking the name of the Archangel Michael. The holy water was a success and the activity stopped. The last thing that happened was my dad's TV turned on by itself like the movie Poltergeist. So after the crazy experiences happened, a couple months passed by and I get a message from my ex-girlfriend out of nowhere. Me and her start talking again. We hook up the night after. I spent the night at her place and everything went good. But the next day, we have a terrible breakup and stop talking again, as if it was almost like a joke for this demon. Then a year passes and it's 2020, and I learned that my mom died on my birthday. All worse. I started getting depressed. That was almost like a progressive disease. It was almost like I could feel the progression like it was cancer. Then my cousin died from a heroin overdose. I learned my ex-girlfriend had killed herself. All this happened within the year 2020. All my relationships deteriorated. My anxiety got so bad that I couldn't hold conversations anymore. Like I had an incurable depression that seemed like it was supernaturally forced. There was more bad luck that has happened to me, but I won't share all of the details. But what I have learned from all of this, demons attack you in many ways, and it's not always by moving things and supernatural activity. Demons will destroy everything you love and bring disease and death to your family and loved ones, almost like a foreboding supernatural force. Bad luck, death, and miserable existence. What's funny about all of this is when I moved into my new place, there's a stain on my ceiling of a goat. That demon is known as the scapegoat in the Bible. Anyway, please don't ever play with the occult. It is definitely something you do not want to play with, especially if you don't understand it, like I did. You will unleash things that will bring your demise. Please stay away from all forms of black magic. I will share those pictures. I will share those pictures and the picture of the goat on my ceiling. That's going to fuck me up for the rest of the night. It's so weird. No, the format's the same. The format's the same. I know, Nexus. I know. It's just it's messing me up. Like, I want to know. You know what I mean? Like, that little kid was crying so fucking bad. Another cop went by. Dude, even if they weren't doing anything bad to the kid, it's fucking 2 a.m. No little kid should be outside. One, it's 23 degrees out and it's 2 a.m. Like, fuck. When I was 14, I had a strange encounter that still puzzles me to this day. On the weekends, I'd sometimes go to my mom's place. My parents were divorced. The house she lived in was converted into several small apartments. It was a creepy old farmhouse. The house was at least 150, maybe 200 years old. My mom told me off and on that strange sounds she could hear and see things out of the corner of her eyes and had a feeling of being watched. That was just a car. This one particular evening, I had spent the night. I brought my N64 because my mom would go to bed early and I'd still be up for a few more hours. I remember to this day what game I was playing. WWF No Mercy. Badass game. I was sitting Indian style on the floor playing the story mode. I just finished a mission in the game and set down the controller to the left of me. Behind me, directly behind me, was a recliner. I never forgot what I saw next. I went to grab the controller and saw what appeared to be a hoof, like a horse, next to the controller on the floor. Insects and blood was coming out of the sliver that separated the hoof. I thought to myself, how strange. I slowly glanced up, and this demonic figure was staring back at me. It leaned down toward me. Its face got down in my face and grinned an evil smile. The black eyes, the face red, one-winged creature, blood dripping from its mouth. It was so surreal. I immediately went into a panic attack and blacked out. I learned later that it was the fight or flight response. Several seconds later, I came to, lying on the floor, could barely move. The demonic figure in the chair was laughing at me. It was as if my fear and energy had sucked me dry. I lost all my strength. I did all I could to crawl to my mom's room and wake her up. After I woke her up, we talked, and she believed me. She told me she had seen the same thing earlier in the week, but did not want to scare me. I don't know what to make of it, and still think. To this day, I have no doubt demons and angels are real. And believe me, the last thing you ever want to encounter is a demon smiling at you in your living room. I don't care if you guys believe me or not, but when two people see the same thing on two separate occasions, either me and my mom are both crazy, or something is definitely wrong with this old farmhouse. My mom has thankfully moved since, and we have not encountered anything since. What's up, Grundle? I know. I think if I saw like a demon, I'd probably fucking be like, nah. I'd be like that chick in the fucking ride on the fair. You know, sitting and she goes shooting up and she's like, ah, ah. That's what I'd be like if I saw a demon. I'd probably fart a couple times though. Hopefully I wouldn't shart. Well, that's why I didn't give my name, George, when I hit *67. I would probably shart though. I would definitely shart if I saw one. I'd be like, probably not Nexus. I'm getting tired. I'm tired. I'm gonna do it for a little bit though. Cordelia, how are you? Mr. Billy Blue, how are you, buddy? This one's rather interesting. All right. I don't know where to begin. This has been happening to me for a long time, and I've grown quite accustomed to it. I don't want people to think I'm crazy. Anyone this before, but I figure it's the best time to get it off my chest. Larry Sharp, how are you, buddy? Welcome to the membership. I live in Arcadia, Michigan, back in the woods. The nearest neighbor is about a mile away. I love it out here. It's quiet, cozy, and for anyone who has ever seen Michigan fall, the colors are amazing. We have backcountry roads, the type of roads that are barely traveled by cars, but are amazing for walks pretty much anytime you want to go. This is maybe late fall that the first occurrence happened. I was 11, and just for reference, I am 21 now. I had my best friend over, and for sake of the experience, let's call her Anna. We were bored, and on Thanksgiving break, Anna and I decided we wanted to take a late night walk, so I agreed. We grabbed our sweaters and headed out. It wasn't too late, maybe 9 or 10, and the sky was lit by a full moon and the air smelled crisp and clean. On our walk, I decided to tell Anna about my aunt's encounter with the Dogman. Anna was always scared of the Dogman and instantly got scared and wanted to go home. I apologized to Anna and continued on. About a half mile down the road, we stopped at an old abandoned house that we had always passed but never went in. We had our backs to the main road as we walked around the house and started to walk the trail that looped around the house again. Went into a cornfield through the woods and into the backyard. Basically, let's just say it was longer way to walk home. Anna was scared. She did not want to go into the woods due to the fresh Dogman story that I had no doubt was playing in her mind. I again calmed her down and informed her that this way is quicker, and if we turn back around now, it'll be a longer walk home. She agreed to put her big girl pants on, and we continued walking. Although now I think about, I wish we would have flaked and just walked the normal way. We got into the woods, and that's when all the crazy shit happened. I heard flapping of wings overhead. It was not birds, but something massive and huge. I looked over at Anna, and she was frozen in her tracks and pale. Anna, did you hear that? I asked in a low whisper. Hear what? Anna asked with her eyes glued to the night sky, letting me know that yes, she did hear it as well. I tugged her on her hand, and she stumbled into a walk again. I started walking faster, making sure to keep my head down and my hand around Anna's hand. I instructed her to do the same, if only to glance up to see where we're going. I thought at the time, if I didn't see it, it wasn't real. Skip forward 5 minutes of quickly walking. We're almost home. I'm thinking a 10-minute sprint at most when we heard the flapping noise again, what sounded like a big tree branch snapping and thudding to the ground. I squeezed her hand tighter in mine and yelled, run. As we both picked up speed, we ran as fast as our legs would carry us. The woods were blurring. I heard Anna sobbing and breathing heavily behind me, but I didn't stop. I only had my eyes forward and set on my porch light I could see shining through the night. I didn't stop. I didn't falter. I didn't stumble because I was too scared. I could hear much louder steps coming from behind us. I could hear that they weren't too far behind us. Just as Anna and I broke through the tree line, this thing followed us. It stopped. I practically dragged Anna inside to the house, slamming and locking the back door and shutting the porch light off. Luckily, my parents were still gone for the evening. What was that? Anna screamed at me with a spit flying from her mouth, and she had her hands on her knees, bent over slightly. I couldn't tell if she was pissed at me for making her run or just simply terrified. I smashed my finger to my lips and knelt down below the window to the back door, motioning Anna to do the same. She quickly complied. We sat there for what seemed like hours, but must have only been 20 minutes. I got the courage to stand up and peep outside the window. When I did, I saw two glowing red eyes staring back at me. Anna was about to stand up, but I stopped her. I didn't want her seeing this. I didn't see much. I saw the creature was tall, black. It had huge wings, but the most that caught me was its eyes. I stared into those eyes for a good 30 seconds, and in those 30 seconds, I felt relief. Like I could somehow trust this monster. I reached up and was about to unlock the door when Anna cut me off and slapped my hand, causing me to look away from those red eyes. What are you doing? She whispered. I shook my head before I replied, and I wasn't about to do anything. The car door slammed from the front of the house, causing us both to just shut up. Anna bolted, knowing that my parents were back home. I glanced one more time out before leaving, but I didn't see anything. I really wish this experience ended here. Anyway, maybe for Anna it does, because as far as I know, she never really seen things again. I really didn't walk home anymore. I didn't go into the woods anymore either after that incident, but somehow this creature, Mothman or whatever this thing was, seemed to get bolder and less scared of the houses. Late at night, you could hear tapping on your window or doorknobs jingling or something trying to come through. This thing got smarter. It never came around the house when I was around other people. Anyway, I was alone one night. I forgot to close my blinds. I see this creature with its bright red eyes looking in at me. I quickly hid under my blankets and peeked back out, and it was gone. By the time I was 19, I moved out of my parents' house. They still live there. I don't know if they have had anything happen to them. I moved down to Florida, and since moving, I haven't seen anything again. Dude, I just fucking... Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Come here. It's okay. Oh. Come here. Come here, Bobby. Come here. Hey, what are you doing? Want to say hi to everybody? Aw, hi, buddy. Hi. Want to say hi? Want to say hi to everybody? Hi. Yeah. Oh, buddy. Buddy's here. There he is. Hey, buddy. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. There, Tigger came to say hi to everybody. Oh, you go boy, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Noise wake you up, Bobby? Huh? He never comes in. All right. Oh. Lay down, buddy. You're okay. You're okay. I'll give you some treats after, I promise. Be a good boy. He's pissed that I didn't give him treats. He's so mad that I didn't give him treats. He's ripping apart his cat scratching thing. He's like, better give me my treats. Where you going, buddy? Listen, he's talking. No, he stopped. This happened when I was around 10 years old, and I still can't explain it. As background, the upstairs level of our house had a small landing with 4 rooms in close proximity to the stairs. My parents' room on the right, the bathroom straight ahead, and me and my sister's rooms on the left. One day I was standing in the bathroom getting ready when from the corner of my eye I noticed what appeared to be a large black creature on the stairs. I turned to look directly at it, and I saw a huge fluffy black dog bounding up the stairs. We didn't have a dog, but our neighbors had a big black Newfoundland named Schooner. Anyway, I watched the dog run up the stairs and turn right into my parents' room. I assumed Schooner somehow had gotten into our house, and I was worried about our cats. So I ran out of the bathroom and slammed on my parents, trapping the dog in the room. Then I stood on the landing and called my mom, yelling, "Mom, help. I just trapped the huge dog in your room. I think it's Schooner." Seconds later, she came upstairs. We stood on the landing next to the closed door while I explained what had happened. She told me to stay there. Then she opened the door, walked in, closed the door behind her. About a minute later, she walked out with a cynical look on her face. Very funny. I looked at her confused. What do you mean? She replied, there's no dog in there. I couldn't believe it. I told her that's impossible. Then I ran into the room and searched everywhere. My mom was right. There was no dog in that room. We were on the second floor and the windows were screened and closed. From that moment, I slammed the door until I searched the room. I was standing besides the only exit. There is no way the dog could have escaped without me seeing it. My mom shrugged it off, still a bit suspicious that I was playing a trick on her. She eventually blamed it on my overactive imagination, but that's the only time in my life that I have physically seen something that wasn't there. I don't know. Did I imagine it? I don't think so. To this day, I have no clue of what happened. Was it a one-time hallucination for no apparent reason? Was it a ghost? Was it a glitch in the Matrix? Did I cross from one plane of existence to another? I'm a rational person who always looks at things rationally, evidence-based explanations, and I can almost always find one, but I can't find any rational explanation for this experience. Good night, Simone. Have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with us. I've had a few Dogman experiences in South Texas. Ugh. All right. Last Lizzo story of the night. This one is the best for the last. What do you mean? The original? He never shared it in his. He never shared his Little America hunt. I shared it. He wrote it and I read it. He never shared it. So the remastered is the original one. This one is the best one. The rain fell in sheets that night, turning the cracked asphalt outside the rolling roadhouse into a black mirror. Inside, the neon sign flickered, open 24/7, coffee, diesel, and anything else you need. The smell of fried chicken, coffee, and the hint of cheap cologne and perfume hung heavy in the air. A perfume that had over the years become an unofficial fragrance of West Virginia's most infamous truck stop kingdom. At the heart of this greasy empire stood Lizzo, the lot lizard queen. She wore a glittering pink leather jacket that had seen more miles than most of the rigs in the parking lot. A crown of rusted hubcaps and a swagger that could make an 18-wheeler stop dead in its tracks. She was not just the madam of the backdoor booths. She was the ruler, the mother hen, the bartender, and on nights like this, the MC of the most absurd the Ozarks. Ladies and gentlemen, truckers and whatever the hell you are, she roared into a cracked microphone, her voice amplified by a busted speaker that crackled with static. Welcome to the first annual Intergalactic Arm Wrestling Championship. Tonight, the strongest souls, human, beast, and extraterrestrial, will test their biceps on the very table. She slapped the battered, scar-covered wooden table in the middle of the diner, the surface stained with every spilled coffee and blood spatter margarita imaginable. A hulking figure shuffled forward. It was Earl, the Road King, 6'5", 320, trucker with a beard that would hide a whole set of spare tires and a smile that made even the night shift cook's heart race. Earl held a mug of black coffee like a scepter, his eyes already glinting with the promise of victory. He was Lizzo's boy toy, a term that in this world meant the guy who can lift a semi and still look good in a crop top. And tonight, he was the opening act. Earl, you're up first, Lizzo said, patting his massive bicep. Show these aliens how a real trucker does it. Earl flexed, his forearms bulging like steel drums of a freight train. He slammed his elbow onto the table, the wood protesting with a deep groan. A husky chuckle rose from the crowd. Across the room, a portal hissed open, swirling with a nauseating shade of green and purple. From it slithered three grotesque alien beings, their bodies all gelatinous, with tentacles, eyes flashing in a rhythm that suggested a cosmic karaoke. They were from the planet Buttnob, a place rumored in trucker folklore to be the headquarters for all things, well, you know. Their leader, 6-foot-tall specimen with a crown of dented soda cans, raised a hand. Earthlings, the alien croaked in a voice that sounded like a busted radio. We accept your challenge. Our planet's strongest, Glork and Pump Jack, shall arm wrestle. Glork's arms were a tangle of sinew and what seemed to be suspiciously like a rusted pipe. He flexed, and a faint whirling sound came from the room, like a diesel engine warming up. The crowd gasped. The only thing louder than that whir was the hiss of the rain outside. Earl grinned, set his coffee down, and slammed his hand onto Glorg's. The table shivered, and the match began. The two behemoths were locked, forearms straining, skin sliding against skin. For a moment, it seemed like Earl may actually win. Then Glorg's tentacles squeezed tighter, his alien muscles ripped with a glow that made even the neon sign look dim. With a sudden, bone-crushing snap, Glorg slammed Earl's hand back down onto the wood. Earl's arm cracked in what sounded like whole dinner plates breaking. Blood spurted from the fountain like a fountain, and the smell of iron rose. Lizzo's eyes widened, but in horror in the room turned into a guttural laugh as the alien cheered. Glorg wins! Satan, who had made a point of showing up with his best Hellfire lounge suit, black leather horns polished to shine, and a smile that hinted the centuries of mischief, sashayed into the stage, dragging a bound and gagged figure behind him. Oh, that figure was, yes, Saddam Hussein, freshly resurrected for the night, dressed in a bondage gimp gear that made him look like a condemned circus performer, snorted, trying to speak through his gag. I am here for the final showdown, Satan drawled, his voice sweet, poisonous whisper, and I brought my own special guest. He pointed a crooked finger to a massive silhouette that emerged from the back kitchen. The kitchen door slammed open, and out strutted a creature that could only be described as a drag queen Bigfoot, fur as glossy as a sequenced gown, massive boots that could crush a trucker's suspension. The towering, glittering headdress, the creature's lips were painted a brilliant shade of blood red, and eyes sparkling with a fierce theatrical confidence. Darling, the Bigfoot crooned, voice deep and resonant, named Sasha Sleuth. And honey, I've been waiting to flex these paws. The audience roared. Even the alien from Buttnob clapped its tentacles in appreciation. The night had just turned into a carnival of absurdity. Each participant more grotesque than the last, each more eager to prove that they were the strongest. Satan's plan was simple. He was to resurrect boy toy Saddam Hussein to arm wrestle the drag queen Bigfoot while the queen Lizzo watched. If Saddam survived, the crowd would be left with a story to tell for generations. If Saddam distracted, crowd left generations. Okay. The table was cleared. Saddam, still bound in leather straps, was forced to straighten his arms. His jaw clenched as if recalling the taste of a forbidden sulfate. Sasha Sleuth placed a glistening manicured paw on Saddam's hand, and the match began. At first, Sasha seemed to have the upper hand, her claws digging into Saddam's skin. Her massive forearms flexed like a mountain. But then, Satan, ever the trickster, whispered an incantation. A sudden bolt of infernal fire laced through Sasha's arms, causing it to twitch like a puppet. Saddam's muffled scream was barely audible over the crackling of flames. The audience gasped. Even the boondock alien seemed unsettled. In a heartbeat, Sasha's claws snapped forward, pinning Saddam to the table. The crowd erupted in wild cheers, and Satan waved a hand, grinning, splitting his face like a slash in a horror film. "We have a champion," he announced. "Now, a true test for the queen herself." Lizzo stepped forward, her pink leather jacket glinting under the flickering fluorescent light. She tugged off her boots, revealing a pair of massive, scarred hands that had wrestled dozens of men and thousands of men, hundreds and thousands of men, a few strange creatures on more than one occasion. Hell, she even turned to Sasha, who had lifted her claw hand with theatrical flair. "Ready to lose your crown, Bigfoot?" Lizzo asked. Voice was menacing. Sasha's eyes narrowed, her drag makeup slipping slightly from the heat. "Honey, I was born ready." Table sputtered as the two titans locked hands. The wood creaked. The rain hammered the roof. The crowd fell into a stunned silence. The battle was more than a test. It was an unspoken contest of dominance over the place that had been nurtured both by grotesque and was glorious. Lizzo's forearms bulged, aims popped like cords on an old diesel engine. She grunted, her breath a mixture of ciggies and cheap perfume. Satan's claws dug in. Fur ripping as she braced herself. The two forces, one human, one mythical, pressed against each other. For a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a guttural roar, Lizzo's fingers tightened. A scream like a siren wailed in the swamp, escaped Sasha's throat. Her forearm twisted and glinted like a headdress wobbling. Then, with a sound like a crash and a busted trucker's bumper, Sasha's arm snapped backward, clattering onto the table. Lizzo parted, stared down the fallen drag queen Bigfoot, her eyes glinting in triumph. She raised her arm high, victorious, howl escaped from her throat. "I am the intergalactic wrestling champion," she declared. Her voice echoed through the rain-soaked night. Buttnob alien roared, raising a toast with a cup of something that smelled like shit and melted cheese. The portal blinked. The alien crowd cheered, waving their gelatinous tentacle in rhythm. Satan, still smirking, tossed a key in the midair. It spun, caught the light. It laced on Lizzo's boot. A little souvenir for the queen. You will need it when the portal opens next week. We're planning a buffet. All right. Guys, I am beat. I got to crash. 3 hours. I hope. I kind of want to find out what the fuck happened. Oh. God, I'm so tired. All right. Guys, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Sorry, I wish we could have pulled another 4-hour nighter, but I can't. I'm too tired. Anyway, thank you once again for hanging out with me. You guys are just make my Saturday nights awesome. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. And you know what? Thank you once again. If by chance I find out what happened, I will post it in the community post on the channel. Oh. Once again, I'm sorry for being tired. I'll see you next week.